in my opinion, it's kind of a foregone conclusion Donald Trump's going to win, and he's pro crypto. So all of a sudden, you get the world's biggest capital market without a guy who just has a hate on for it, basically starting to embrace all things crypto. Most investors aren't paying attention to that.
If Donald Trump wins the 2024 election, will he usher in a new era for crypto? That's what Russel Starr, head of capital markets at DeFi Technologies, thinks.
If Trump wins, I think you're looking at $1,000 Bitcoin with it going mainstream, that being crypto. You'll see institutions starting to embrace it. You got to remember, the US is the biggest capital markets in the world. Most people follow them. This is one of those rare instances where they're losing and the rest of the world is winning. You turn that table around and you're looking at massive, in my opinion, capital flows into the space.
You need to be paying attention to this.
I don't think people are really factoring in a pro-US government towards crypto. This is the opportunity of life-changing, life-altering wealth that people need to be paying attention to.
We learn a lot about what a Trump presidency would look like for crypto in this interview. We also learn a lot about DeFi technologies too.
They always talk about cutting edge. We're more bleeding edge. We're light years ahead of most of the competition. Like I mentioned, products that no one else has, ideas that no one else has, the new kid on the block. There's a variety of reasons.
Hit the like button, support the channel. Russel really shares his full and untethered opinion in this interview. Hey, it's just his opinion. Do you think Trump, Kamala, Kennedy, or somebody else will win? Who would be the best for crypto? I'm curious to see some of your comments. Watch this whole interview. Let me intro this. Cryptocurrency is at a kind of a turning point this year. We have Russel Starr here, the former CEO and now head of capital markets, head of all things public at DeFi Technology, which is institutional grade exposure to digital assets. Russel, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Great to have you here. Before we get into your background and what is DeFi technology, give me your general big picture, broad thoughts on crypto today in 2024.
Yeah, so look, I'm a gold guy, or I was a gold guy. I really struggled with the concept of Bitcoin, and then I watched basically, one, two, three, four uppercuts, like knockout punches, Mike Tyson type level swings at Bitcoin that didn't put it to the mat. And I had this. I'm an ex-institutional guy, covered hedge funds, started a firm in Canada. Just kind of an academic background, got into finance, and at that point, I was like, look, man, this is legit. Like, if something can actually sustain its value and people will still pay 15, 20, now 68,000 for a Bitcoin, there's got to be something to it. I started looking for some really interesting companies and found this one run by the guy who actually created Hive Blockchain. And the other founder is a guy who created XBT Provider, which is now CoinShares, and just started buying up a ton of it. It was great at the beginning. It took off. It got to $4. Then it was crypto winter, got down all the way to like 10, 8 cents. We all cleaned it up, just kept buying. And here we are now today. I don't know, long what I think is going to be one of the more interesting and seminal companies in the crypto space moving forward.
So you're bullish on crypto in 2024.
Yeah, very, very. I mean, there's a lot of catalysts, obviously, and well, look, you ask questions. Maybe that's the better way to do it. I can elaborate for hours on this stuff. So
sure. Let's get to know more from you first, and then I want to talk to you about the election, the SEC, and I know that your company is aggressively buying Bitcoin and Solana and some key crypto assets, putting it on your balance sheet. Before we get to that, I guess, what is your background? What is your why? Why build and be a part of DeFi technology?
Yeah. So academic, really, have a master's in econometrics, started my PhD, have an MBA, kind of got poached out of the program, ended up working on Bay Street most of my career, which is the Canadian equivalent of Wall Street. Started a firm with a couple of buddies, did very, very well. And then got a little bit tired of doing that. I wanted to branch out into more of the creation side of things rather than just sort of selling and taking a commission. Built a gold company with a buddy that got sold to a major. Obviously not everything you do is a success. That was one of them. But was watching crypto the entire time and just have become incredibly intrigued in sort of this new asset class. A lot of people call it digital gold. It really fits into my sort of academic background of fiat currencies being devalued, destroyed, and how do you actually maintain your value when every government is systematically printing money like it's going out of style.
Mhm. So then catch us up, what is DeFi Technologies? What does DeFi Technologies do? Who would be interested in it?
Yep. Well, the turning point for us, the real seminal moment for us was the Bitcoin ETF launch. Everybody's all, wow, a Bitcoin ETF. I was mentioning to you that the SEC and Gary Gensler have been basically doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. The definition of insanity. They're just losing all the time at the Supreme Court level, and I don't understand why, other than Bitcoin really is bad for the U.S. dollar. But what's really bad for the U.S. dollar is printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So you get Grayscale winning at the Supreme Court level. You get the Bitcoin ETF, which is now the most successful ETF in the history of all ETFs. And literally, ETFs are the biggest movement in capital markets in decades, maybe even centuries or a century. And we have 25 of them. And so what people don't understand is that the rest of the world is eclipsing the US. So Europe has been our stomping ground. We have 25, they're called ETPs, they're exchange traded products, very, very similar to the ETF. Core DAO is one of our more successful ones. Toncoin, Solana is our biggest ETP. We have a Bitcoin Zero product, which is the same thing as the Bitcoin ETF, except we charge zero management fee. We have another Bitcoin product where we offer 5.65% yield. Yeah, you get paid to actually own a Bitcoin ETF, which like we're light years ahead. And so why you want to own us? A couple of things. Well, we have 25 of these, and we should finish the year with 30. We're expanding into the Middle East. We're expanding into Asia. We're likely going to be in Africa. We're likely going to be in South America. So we are taking over the rest of the world while BlackRock and everybody basically fights over Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe Solana in the US. That's one reason. But the other is our revenue model is extremely strong. We charge management fees, except for our Bitcoin and Ethereum products, and then we stake and lend all of our products. So in a general sense, we make about 8 to 10% yield on our AUM. So we're 600-700 million right now in AUM. It's just catapulted higher this year. We get to $1 billion in AUM, we make $100 million, and our profit margins are basically 90%. So again, I'm just talking financial management, financial metrics here, but your typical crypto company, and there aren't a lot of them, but if you're looking at Galaxy, I think it's trading at around 23 times earnings. Coinbase and Robinhood, who are sort of pseudo proxies, are at like 30 and 40 times earnings because they're, uber growth companies. We're at 3 times earnings. We're going to make close to 100 million in Q2. We're going to do probably close to 150, 160 million US this year. And our market cap in the US is about 400 million. So call it 2.5 times, 3 times earnings. But from an earnings multiple perspective, that's just nonsensical to me. Like the entire S&P average is 20 times earnings. So that's the reason why we're building these products faster than anybody else in the world. We're launching them all over the world. Obviously, we will go to the US if things change, and I think we are on the eve of a major change where, in my opinion, it's kind of a foregone conclusion. Donald Trump's going to win, and he's pro crypto. So all of a sudden, you get the world's biggest capital market without a guy who just has a hate on for it, basically starting to embrace all things crypto. Most investors aren't paying attention to that.
So it sounds like DeFi Technologies is doing well. What is like the secret sauce? Why is the company doing so well?
We're just a bleeding edge company, right? They always talk about cutting edge. We're more bleeding edge. We're light years ahead of most of the competition. Like I mentioned, products that no one else has, ideas that no one else has, the new kid on the block. There's a variety of reasons. But regardless of all of that, like I mentioned, just crushing it. Like things have really changed for us. Like last year was a crypto winter, and the company was a going concern, but now all of a sudden crypto's bid and we're just printing money. So it is a vast change in a year. even if you look at our Q1 to Q2 change, we had 6 million in cash in Q1, 45 million in debt. Today, we probably have closer to 75 million in cash and treasury, that Bitcoin, Solana, and Core that I was mentioning, and probably only close to 5 million in debt. So it's been a complete about face for this company. It's firing on all cylinders. And if you believe in this ecosystem, and in particular, not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but altcoins, Solana, Core, ICP, Hashadera, we are the company that offers the biggest and I believe best exposure to the altcoin market.
And to be clear, as far as who is your products for, is it accredited investors? Is it institutions? Who would use this?
Anybody. So we are cleared by prospectuses. Mom and pops can buy them anywhere in Europe. We trade on most European exchanges. Scandinavia is our biggest jurisdiction. I don't know why. They just seem to have adapted and embraced these products faster than most other jurisdictions. But yeah, these are publicly traded equities. The way a Bitcoin ETF is accessible to most of the U.S. public, although I do find this weird. I met a very big broker at Morgan Stanley, and she was telling me that Morgan Stanley will not let their clients buy the Bitcoin ETF. That's the kind of paradoxical perspective that the US and the SEC is actually forced, despite the fact that it's the best and most successful ETF ever in the world.
So, please expand on what you said about Donald Trump. You said you think it's very likely he gets elected, and if so, that's an order of magnitude better for crypto in the US. Please explain your thesis.
Well, again, Gensler has been operating on a political objective. He's stated that in court. He's taken a perspective and a view that approving these products is bad for the public. It's bad for the US dollar. The courts disagree with him. He's losing every single time. But despite losing, I mean, he's spending your taxpayer dollars to fight a battle that you all don't want him to fight. Now, I'm assuming you're American, I'm Canadian, so I'm referencing it from a different perspective. So apologies, incredible respect to our neighbors to the south. But it is true. The SEC is a government organization, and despite the fact that you've got a bipartisan support network now at the House and at the Congress level for crypto, the government is still anti-crypto. Donald Trump's government is not. He is openly supportive of crypto. He's speaking at the Nashville Bitcoin conference this week, and I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know him, and this is just me, theorizing. But he does tend to be kind of rebellious and intriguing and go against the grain. But I wouldn't be surprised if he says something extremely bullish for crypto at Bitcoin Nashville. And again, when you look at the price of Bitcoin, it's doing well. It's 68,000. It's near its all-time highs, which I think were 74,000 or was 74,000. But I don't think people are really factoring in a pro-US government towards crypto, which is completely contradictory to the current government and the last decade that the US government had been taking its perspective on crypto.
But is it likely that Trump wins? I mean, the Democratic Party is going through a little bit of turmoil right now. Do you think they have a chance, or?
Well, look, a Canadian, we hear and see a lot of different things than you guys probably do. I mean, fake news is kind of the new thing. I'd be shocked. I mean, I was listening to the All In podcast today. They're basically, it's a done deal. Trump is winning. I don't think you see something like what happened, the assassination attempt, him standing up on stage, pumping his fist. I'll be shocked if the Democrats can get themselves together in a timely fashion and enough so to actually win this election. I know Biden stepped aside, which was probably a long time coming and maybe too long, too late. But I still just, and this is a Canadian's perspective, I just don't think it's enough to turn the tide of what looks like an incredibly convincing Trump victory.
Help me finish this sentence. If Trump doesn't win, well, Bitcoin at least gets to this price level. But if Trump does win, or a pro-crypto candidate does win, Bitcoin can get to this level.
So if the Democrats win, they destroy the value of the US dollar, and they pursue a policy of just debt over debt over debt over debt, and Bitcoin wins, maybe gets to 70, 80, 90,000. If Trump wins, I think you're looking at $100,000 and $150,000 Bitcoin with it going mainstream, that being crypto. You'll see institutions starting to embrace it. You got to remember, the US is the biggest capital markets in the world. Most people follow them. This is one of those rare instances where they're losing and the rest of the world is winning. You turn that table around and you're looking at massive, in my opinion, capital flows into the space.
So your company recently announced aggressive buying of Bitcoin, Solana, and quality
Core.
core. Core
Core
is the
DAO. Yep.
core
Yep.
DAO. Can you explain that?
Well, Bitcoin Treasury an opportunity is nothing new. MicroStrategy is trading at incredible multiples on that simple thesis. Michael Saylor is on the record as saying Bitcoin is the end goal. Like, that is the end. The US dollar is done. We have so much cash on our balance sheet now. I think it's close to 50,000 or 50 million US still, and about 25 million now in Bitcoin, mostly Bitcoin, a bit of Solana, and a bit of Core DAO. We just felt it was sensible to diversify a little bit. We believe, like I mentioned, we're kind of the leader in the altcoin space, and Core and Solana are we believe two future massive winners. And then, of course, Bitcoin makes sense from the simple fact that the U.S. has been printing money like it's going out of style, and a lot of people don't understand this, but the actual definition of inflation in a textbook sense is the printing of M1. So, really, the U.S. is in a massively inflationary spiral here until they start cutting back on printing U.S. dollars. And I think that's what Trump's going to be looking to do. He's going to look at a diversification away from printing dollars and probably starting to embrace crypto, probably starting to embrace gold. And we just thought it would be smart to not be carrying all these dollars as they get devalued day after day after day.
Yeah, and reading Core's press release, obviously, Bitcoin makes sense for the balance sheet, but also specifically, as you mentioned, Solana was a big one. And you just said you're very bullish. Are you more bullish on Solana than Ethereum? Why is that your second biggest play, or what is your thoughts?
Yeah, look, if I was to step aside and just put my own personal perspective, I think Core might be the biggest winner. But Solana looks to be, I mean, it's kind of the meme coin, and it's had just incredible returns. I wouldn't be surprised to see it at 500-600. Core, it'll be really, really interesting because they offer the ability. They're almost like a building block on the Bitcoin layer one, and they're almost like a layer two on Bitcoin, which no one ever thought was possible. And so they're generating massive yield, close to 15-16% on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Guys, I encourage everybody to follow Russell and check out DeFi Technology and his companies, all linked below. Just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception you think that people have about DeFi technologies, or what do you wish more people understood?
I think the biggest challenge and biggest issue now is most people just aren't touching crypto still. I'm meeting institution after institution. They see the math, they see the multiples. I'm almost 100% certain they're all looking at it. They're almost in a bit of disbelief at how quickly we've turned this company around. But it only takes one major data point to move an entire market, and I think we're coming up on that. And it's the U.S. election. So I was on the record on an earlier interview, and I said this is the opportunity of life-changing, life-altering wealth that people need to be paying attention to. DeFi, I think, is going to be a major winner. As I mentioned, if you believe in ETFs and in the crypto space, we're kind of the market leader, despite only having a $400 million market cap. And crypto itself is going to lead this charge, I think, starting hopefully as soon as the election.
So what's next for DeFi technology? What does success look like for you in 2-3 years?
I'd like to think we have 100 products, 100 ETPs. We should be, if we execute in the Middle East, Asia, Latin America, Africa, hopefully in the US and Canada after they wake up and take their heads out of their collective you-know-whats, just because it is remarkable that these two regulators have just obstinately, against the tide, just stood up against this tidal wave coming at them and continue to still try to fight it. and I suspect, like I mentioned, if we can get to 1 billion in AUM, that's 100 million in revenue. We get to 2, 3, 4, 5 billion, which is not disbelievable given how successful ETFs are and how fast this ecosystem is growing. It's growing 2 times faster than the internet. But we get to 5 billion, we make 500 million in revenue, 490 million in profit. Do that. I mean, that's greater than our entire market cap right now. And things usually trade at 20, 30 times earnings. So I hesitate to even believe where we will be and what this company looks like in 3 to 5 years if it's not taken out because of its current cheap status.
Is there anything about DeFi technology or the market at large that you wanted to touch on that we haven't talked about yet?
Honestly, no. I think if you can find and see something trading at 3 times earnings, you need to be buying it. And I think I've kind of been pretty emphatic about that. I've mentioned, how many new products we should have in the next 2, 3 years, where we're going. So no, I just think this is an incredible company, incredible opportunity. It's run by 2 really impressive guys, Ollie and Johan, who I mentioned. One started Hive Blockchain, the other CoinShares. Great management, great products, huge opportunity.
Check out DeFi Technology linked below. And I guess even though you kind of just gave final thoughts, final big picture thoughts for the person watching this video at home, they're going to check out DeFi Technology, but generally, advice on how to do well in crypto.
Well, my view is I don't know how to pick a winner. This whole ecosystem is growing so fast. And if you had talked to me 2 years ago about Solana being our biggest product, I would have shaken my head. I had no clue it could do what it did. The beauty of our company is, let's say by the end of next year, we have 50 products. Chances are that next big winner, 2, 3, 4, 5 winners are going to be one of our products. You get the benefit of almost owning all of them by buying DeFi stock. So we're almost like a huge ETF of all these ETFs underneath it. And I'd leave it with that.
Excellent. Russell, thank you so much for coming on today. Just appreciate you coming on.
Really appreciate the time. Thank you.